Meeting to order. Can you hear me? Let's call tonight's meeting to order.
Recorder, can you call the roll?
Yes. Counselor Duggar?
I'm here.
Counselor Hartmeyer-Brigg?
Here.
Counselor Hassan? Counselor Kimmy is absent. Counselor Teeter?
Here.
Counselor Tivnon?
Here.
Mayor Beatty?
Here. Okay, let me pull up the script. All right, sorry, my computer died. I'm on my husband's computer, so I had everything else pulled up. Okay, the first order of business tonight is an executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session. The Beaverton City Council will now meet in executive session pursuant of ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. By Oregon law, the media may not remain present for these deliberations. Designated staff are allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. No final decisions will be made in the executive session. After the executive session, we will return to open session. Okay, council, we have a separate link. We're going to exit to, and then we're going to come back to this one.
Hello, just so you guys know, we are going to log into the other laptop, and Jesse's just taking a second to promote people. So if there's someone that's not in, we'll get to them in just a second.
That name Syed is likely Counselor Nadia.
Hassan.
That's Nadia's husband's name, so
Okay.
she might be on his computer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we got everyone back. We are now resuming the regular meeting of the Beaverton City Council following an executive session. We will continue tonight's agenda starting with council new business. We will then move to visitor comment, the city manager's report, consent agenda, a first reading of a proposed city ordinance, an action item, and a work session. The National Preparedness Month proclamation was inadvertently added to tonight's agenda, but it has been rescheduled for September. Regarding the new city council business, the city recruitment subcommittee has a recommendation. I'm going to go ahead and let Councilor Hartmeyer-Prague talk to you guys about the action item that we are talking about tonight. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. So goodness, a couple months back, I believe, we set up a subcommittee for city attorney recruitment, and the mayor, myself, and Councilor Kidney, our council president, serve on that. So we've met a couple times. I believe everyone has finished or is soon to be doing our input conversations with the external recruiter that we're working on with this. But it is almost the end of August, and our amazing city attorney's retirement day is coming soon. And so as the subcommittee has been meeting and talking, we have an interest in getting some, like, since our subcommittees, we kind of operate a little informally, but also like we're tasked with certain things that we can and cannot do, right? And we were set out to help with the city attorney recruitment process. And one of the things that we didn't talk about in concept when we were formed was the potential for an interim appointment. And so just given the timeline and where we're at, the subcommittee would actually like to come back next week with, or not next week, the first meeting in September with a recommendation around an interim appointment to a city attorney. So that is the first thing, is that tonight I'm kind of seeking some approval. But in addition, given this quick timeline, the subcommittee actually has a recommendation for you tonight to consider. And should you be open to considering that, then when we come back at September 3rd, we would come forward with a resolution to actually confirm that recommendation. So the subcommittee would like us to consider our city attorney, our assistant city attorney, Megan Thornton, in the interim position. And she would take on that role when the current city attorney retires October 1st. And so just kind of go, given we're moving kind of quickly around this, but we'd like to come back September 3rd with that resolution. So I can either start with a motion and then we could go into like discussion, or Mayor, if I don't know like how you'd like me to do that, if you want to hear some initial feedback first, or also if you want to add anything about kind of how our subcommittee has been talking about this.
Yeah, I'll add a little context, and then I think if we take a motion, then we can come back and have deliberation on that. I would just say the subcommittee's been meeting very frequently on this conversation. You know, as you know, the city attorney recruiter is just reaching out. We're starting to have those conversations. It took us quite a bit of time to get going. Megan has been working as the interim, or not the interim, as the assistant city attorney for a very long time. A lot of us have seen her in meetings. She's been filling in when Bill's been leaving. She already knows the game. What we're trying to avoid is like a recruitment on top of a recruitment. I have talked in depth with Megan. Ashley and I both talked with Megan and the entire subcommittee. She understands what she's getting into. And she understands the role of the city attorney. She's come from another city before, so she's got lots of great experience. So my hope is we turn it over to somebody that's well equipped, so we can, as my mom would tell me all the time, to keep the main thing, which is finding the new city attorney and not getting distracted with like trying to hire and recruit for an interim when we already have a really great in-house option when we can keep the main thing.
Thanks, Mayor. So with Mayor's additional comment, I will make a motion that council would appoint Megan Thornton as our interim city attorney, and that council come back with this resolution at our September 3rd meeting. Was that motion clear enough?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded by Councilor Duggar. So we'll go into discussion. Councilor Hassan.
Yeah, thank you for leading this work. Hiring is such a party, so I'm glad that you are helping us this happen. I think my only comment is if Megan is to be interested, and it's awkward to be talking about this in this very public forum. So I support Megan taking on this role, and I hope we're just thinking through what that would look like if it was a role that she was interested in. So I will support this motion. Thanks.
Thanks for those comments. I've been talking to her. Well, my hope would be that she applied for the role as well. And so we've been having a lot of conversations about, does she want the role? Does she want to apply full time and all of that? So she took that all into consideration when we asked her if she would be open to serving as the interim. Councillor Duggar?
I just want to quickly say thank you to the subcommittee. That's exactly what should have happened. I really appreciate the work. Easiest decision of the night. Megan is incredibly competent, confidence inspiring and building, and I happily support this, and I second the mayor's comments that I hope she considers something applying. But thank you.
Councillor Teeter?
I also really support Megan here. I just want to share with the community here that this is something that council has talked a lot with staff and the subcommittee has been working on. So you might see a fairly quick conversation here tonight, but there's been a lot of work that's gone into getting us to this point. Megan is really great to work with. I think she's got a great with personality and expertise in this role. So I would be excited to have her through September 3rd. And then if we approve her beyond that, that's great. And hopefully consider her for the full-time role, permanent role.
Councillor Hartmeyer-Prigg?
I forgot to give you all one other detail. We would be seeking a 6-month interim appointment just to make sure that we do have time to allow for the process to go on as well. And, you know, while maybe best case scenario, we could get to a 3-month situation. If we don't, then we're coming back to you at the holidays to extend. And so I really think that a 6-month appointment will give us the time that's needed to get through this process. So I don't know that I have to amend my motion, but the resolution that we would bring to you would include that. And then the other piece that I maybe should confirm is that the subcommittee would continue to work with staff to make sure that like whatever of those pieces are needed around, you know, the contract of the interim role are taken care of, right? Because this is a council appointed role. So the subcommittee will stay involved through that process with the appropriate staff to do that as well. If I need to amend a motion, I'm happy to do that, but I just wanted to make sure I stated that for the record, that would be part of the what you would see on September 3rd.
Bill?
I don't think you need to amend the motion. You've made it clear that you'll work with staff to prepare the resolution, and it'll come back for the entire council to approve. It's not going to be that you won't see the resolution. It'll be executed in the traditional motion for the mayor to sign, and I think we're fine.
Thank you.
Councillor Tickman?
Yeah, I think I'll just round things out by saying I'm in full support of establishing the interim position while we look to fill it full time. And I think Megan would be perfect for filling that. And just to echo what others have said through my work with her on the subcommittee for council rules and governance, it's been an enjoyable experience, and one that there's just been a lot of confidence built into the process along the way, knowing that she's been doing the hard work behind the scenes and coming ready and keeping us informed. So I don't know what else you want in a role like that, but it seems to fit all of the criteria. So fully in support.
Awesome. Also for the council, you know, as we have adjusted to this form of government and do a lot more work via subcommittee, we tend to operate more in the committee format similar to a state legislature. That when we're in those roles and something's not clear, that we come back to the council and we talk about it. And so we wanted to lead by good example here by bringing this back to the council, because it wasn't something that we discussed in the formation of the subcommittee. And subcommittees are relatively new for the city, at least in the last 3 years. So as we're kind of working more towards them, when big decisions and things come before the city, we kind of have to operate in this capacity going forward. So I just want to let everyone know, like, this is kind of our expectation. When things are a little bit different than what we agreed to, we come back because we make decisions as a body. And so this is just a great example of that real life legislative work happening in real time. With that, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Duggar?
Yes.
Councillor Hartmeyer-Prigg?
Yes.
Councillor Hassan?
Yes.
Councillor Teeter?
Yes.
Councillor Tivnon?
Yes.
Mayor Beatty?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, we are now on to visitor comment. Visitor comment is an essential part of local government business and how we operate. We take what you say to us very seriously. However, this is a time for us to hear from you, not a time for dialogue. Follow-up is needed. The city manager is here taking notes and will follow up on the council's behalf. Do we have anyone here to address the council this evening? It looks like no.
We do, Mayor. We have some
Okay,
people.
so we are on now to, oh, we do.
We have people in person, and I believe we have 2 speakers that are virtual.
Okay, we'll give preference to in-person first. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Obviously, we need a little help from the in-room people to facilitate those.
Yes, I believe our
communication.
TVC person will turn the camera on, so you'll be able to see them.
Okay.
Mayor Beatty, this is City Recorder Ryan. Tonight's a cross-training meeting, so staff are just pulling up the tools that they need to learn how to do this job. So sorry for the slight delay.
Oh, that's helpful to know that you guys are off your game today.
We're preparing so we can be on our game, but there is a slight delay while we do that.
I appreciate that.
All right. Hi there. This is Nicole Langley Peralta for the record. I'm one of your librarians, and I'm your current president of SEIU 503, Sublocal 198, which is the union that represents a good number of the employees here at the City of Beaverton. I'm here tonight to give you an update, to give the City Council and citizens an update on the contract negotiations between our union and the city. First, we were hoping to address you in person, so what you can't see, you can see me, but what you can't see is behind me is a big wall of purple shirts, which are my colleagues and supporters that are here to hear the update as well as to support securing a fair contract between the city and the workers here. City of Beaverton workers are more engaged in this round of contract negotiations than they ever have been before, and I believe strongly that that's because we care about this city and about the vital services we provide. I wish I had time to share all of the stories I've heard from folks who love their jobs but are feeling the hit of inflation and seeing wages go up among their peers while ours remain stagnant. But we will be reaching out to meet with the mayor and with counselors, and I hope to have the opportunity to share those stories in person. In bargaining, we have made some progress on several key articles. Among other things, we proposed the contract's first non-discrimination article, which the city has tentatively agreed to, and we've also reached an agreement on sick leave that will help us to keep each other safe. However, we still have a lot of important work to do. On inclement and hazardous weather, we're asking for language that keeps the city functioning while providing for safety and fairness to workers impacted by hazardous weather. We're asking for 2 floating holidays for employees to use to celebrate holidays that aren't recognized by the city, like the Jewish High Holy Days, Eid, Diwali, or Noche Buena, for example. For cost of living adjustments, our wages have not kept up with inflation or industry rates. We want wages that will allow us to stay here at the city without making sacrifices we're currently making that our families are sharing in. We want to be able to live where we work. We want to be able to thrive, and we want wages that are competitive and can attract and retain the kind of talent Beavertonians deserve. The majority of our workers make less than the median income in Beaverton, and our lowest paid employees start at less than $20,000 a year. The city is asking for employees on Kaiser to pay a percentage of their premium. Many of the workers who are on the Kaiser plan choose it because it's affordable. Managers making 6 figures might think that this is fair and reasonable, but we know that with the rising cost of healthcare, among other things, those premium shares will have a devastating impact on the workers who are living paycheck to paycheck. As I mentioned, the workers are super engaged in this process. They're fed up with the status quo and willing to fight to see positive change. To that end, we've initiated a strike pledge, which over 70% of our union workers have signed. We hope we can reach an agreement during the course of bargaining, but in the spirit of transparency, I want to let you know that we're prepared to do what it takes to secure a fair contract. I urge you to support your dedicated, hardworking employees, the people who make Beaverton work.
Right, I know we have a second person signed up in person. We'll let them go next.
Hi, Council. The next person we have here with us tonight is Mike Powers, who will join us at the testimony table.
All right, can you hear me? We good? All right, fantastic. Mayor Beatty, members of the council, my name is Mike Powers and I am president of the Service Employees Union, SEIU Local 503. SEIU 503 represents over 72,000 service workers in our beautiful state. I'm here to provide brief public comment alongside Nicole Langley Peralta, president of our Beaverton SEIU Sublocal 198. In mid-July, I joined over 150 City of Beaverton employees to rally for a better contract that recognizes the value and importance of your skilled workforce. From public works and facilities to parks to roads to librarians in the city library, our members provide public services that all Beavertonians rely on every single day, 24/7. We make Beaverton work. Investing in family wage salaries and healthcare benefits for a skilled workforce is not just an ethical obligation, but a strategic imperative for any organization. When employees receive fair wages that support their families, it leads to greater job satisfaction, higher productivity, and increased retention rates. It should be a classic win-win. Unfortunately, my presence tonight reflects the seriousness of the state of current contract negotiations. Our members are keenly aware of significant city manager and other management pay increases in 2023. Yet city management proposes COLAs and a benefits package that, given inflation and the cost of housing, represents significant cuts to family budgets throughout your workforce. This is painful. This communicates that you value management, but not your forward-facing workers. There is still time to show city employees that you value their work and their families. Our ask is simple. Prioritize city staff providing the services that make Beaverton work. Our thousands and thousands of members throughout Oregon stand ready to back your Beaverton workers in a fight against a bad, disrespectful contract. And we stand ready to negotiate a contract that we can all be proud of. I'm asking you to do the same. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, Dan M., you're up next. He probably needs permission to speak.
Mayor, so we have two online speakers.
Yep, Dan's one of them. And the message I'm getting is you're still trying to find Jim and Mike. Okay, Dan, it looks like you've been granted permission to speak.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for your time. I think that my address will be much simpler. I live in South Beaverton, and in the material that I have provided as preparation for this address, I have provided a list of addresses that have been missing trees for quite some time. I'm talking more than 2 years. And I would really like to petition a city that those trees are planted in my neighborhood. I would also like to mention that I am volunteering annually to Friends of Trees, but so far we haven't been able to plant trees at those addresses. So your help would be very appreciated. So that was the petition part. I also have a question part. I am observing throughout my neighborhood that the topsoil on the right-of-way is being sometimes replaced with gravel. I don't know if, like my understanding is that the right-of-way belongs to a city, and I was just wondering if there is any kind of permission needed for that or so. The reason of my concern is that when it is summer and when the heat wave are coming in, it can be sometimes challenging to kind of to walk a distance and getting this heat both from above and from below, because stones accumulate heat and radiate it quite a lot. So this is my address, and thank you for your time.
Dan, I'll have staff follow up with you via phone or email after the meeting this week. Thanks for addressing the city council. Did we find Jim or Mike?
No, but we have one more speaker, Yasmin Ibarra.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Good evening, Mayor Beatty and city councilors. My name is Yasmin Ibarra. I'm the political director for SEIU Local 49. Our members, who are the subcontracted janitors at the city, provided substantial testimony recently surrounding the city's janitorial contract and the importance of the city's role in investing in and protecting good jobs in the community. I'm here tonight on behalf of our members to urge the city to establish minimum labor standards for your janitorial contract, to address the concerns our members have shared with you regarding the deficiencies in state law that subject Oregon Forward workers to personal and economic instability during these contract transitions. Our members have previously shared with the council the ways in which the Oregon law governing these OFC transitions falls short of its purported goal of protecting workers with disabilities when a public contract transitions from one Oregon Forward contractor to another. The law's protections exclude part-time workers, valuable benefits such as retirement plans and paid time off, and does not guarantee or require any sort of dispute resolution process between employers and employees to ensure that workers' rights on the jobs will be protected. A path forward on the city's janitorial contract that does not include minimum labor standards such as these, that excludes part-time workers and eliminates the guarantee of important benefits and on-the-job protections for your subcontracted janitors, falls short of the responsibility this council has when investing public dollars. It also threatens the labor standards that working Oregonians have fought so hard for over the years. We're asking the council to prioritize a timely process to establish minimum labor standards for your janitorial contract, because every day that the council delays action is another day that your current janitors face instability and uncertainty. Our members have reported recently that Northwest Success has reached out to offer them successor employment, despite the fact that the contract has not yet been voted on. This is creating considerable stress and confusion for these workers. We urge you to take swift action in establishing these labor standards that will protect the interests of all working families. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks for everyone for addressing the city council this evening. Our next item on the agenda is the city manager report. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. They'll put some slides up for me, and I'll go ahead and make a few quick announcements. Great, thank you. If we can move to the next slide, we've got some great news if you haven't heard it already. That we're named the #2 places to live, but I think they probably made an error. We really are #1, but we were ranked as in the top 100 best places to live from Livability's annual ranking. And so all of this is based on quality of life and a variety of economic variables, from housing to jobs to environment and safety. So something to be really proud of. So way to go, Beaverton, and I'll make sure to get back to Livability to adjust that to #1 for next year. The next slide, we'll go over some great announcements around events. I want to encourage everyone this weekend to go to the Music Fest that's happening on August 24th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Evelyn Schiffler Park. And then we have a number of events that are coming up there on the right-hand side of the screen. You can check out our September favorites like Beaverton Sunrun, the Beaverton Celebration Parade, and then of course the Beaverton Half Marathon. And if we move to the next slide, we've got another great announcement. We have boards and commissions recruitments coming up, so we really want to encourage you to get involved in the community. Applications are due Monday, September 16th, and the term begins January 2025. So please check out beavertonoregon.gov/get involved and apply for board and commission. Next slide. We now have better MAX service in Beaverton. TriMet is extending the MAX Red Line to serve all stations in Beaverton. This is starting August 25th. So to learn more, please go to trimet.org. We're really excited. This is a great connectivity, not only to the Patricia Research Center for the Arts, but also to our neighbors in Hillsborough for campuses like Nike and Intel. And then the last and most important slide is that we've had a lot going on in this past month, and I want to kind of give some shout outs to city staff in particular. I think council and the community will really appreciate some of this information. A special thanks to the library and the more than 25 volunteers for another successful reading program. The numbers are astonishing. We gave out more than 2,500 free books to over 2,000 kids and nearly 500 teens who finished our summer reading program. That's just a great accomplishment, as well as we raised about $1,000 for the local charity Tualatin River Keepers. So congratulations. I also want to recognize the events team and the so many volunteers that have helped to bring together literally thousands of community members, like opportunities for the legendary Makers Market and the India Festival. And we are extremely disappointed that we had to cancel the Beaverton Night Market due to extreme and unpredictable weather. But it was amazing to see so many staff and support from all over the city. Emergency management, the police department, public works, finance, human resources, the city manager's office, our friends at the Reser, of course, vendors and volunteers all came out to support us in Night Market. And we're looking forward to having even a better event in the following year. The neighborhood program for doing their part earlier in this month. 700 people came out with help from Teach PRD and volunteers from the Beaverton Pilgrim Lutheran Church. And they braved the heat, of course. We didn't have rain. We wish we had it. To help the Vos Neighborhood Association Committee at their free and lively picnic party in the park. And so that was a great celebration. We also want to congratulate our detectives. They actually recently recovered $50,000 worth of stolen trading cards and jewelry and rare sports paraphernalia. And so that's really important. If any of you are fans of Mickey Mantle or Joe Montana, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant, everyone has their stolen trading cards back where they belong. The IT department worked to restore services, as you know, as a result of the global IT outage that affected a number of organizations around the world. That was not easy to get us back up and running, so thank you so much to IT. And then finally wrapping up, the human resources team for hosting a fun staff engagement party. You may have heard we had ice cream and baby goats of all things to thank our employees for their hard work throughout the year. So that wraps up my comments. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time.
Thank you, City Manager. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on tonight's consent agenda? Seeing none, will the recorder call the roll?
Counselor Duggar,
Yes.
Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg,
Yes.
Counselor Hassan,
Yes.
Counselor Teeter,
Yes.
Counselor Tivnon,
Yes.
Mayor Beatty.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance. On September 3rd, 2024, during the regularly scheduled City Council meeting, a public hearing will be held regarding ordinance amending ordinance number 2050, the Beaverton Development Code, LU 42024-00403, Code Maintenance Project, Text Amendment TA 42024-00402. The next item on the agenda is an action item regarding a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the Oregon Department of Transportation and the City of Beaverton for the downtown loop. We will begin with a staff presentation.
Actually, Mayor, if I can provide a few opening remarks as the staff presentation gets queued up. I just wanted to kind of preface the item talking a little bit about this intended item is an agreement with ODOT bringing forward the project. This is the federally funded demonstration project of the loop. It's one of various components to the overall loop project, and so we're super excited to bring that forward and to have the opportunity to talk about the IGA and to talk about the demonstration of the project itself. What we're trying to do with this item is to be able to kind of bring the scoping forward, bring forward design, and then eventually have a manifestation, bring the construction of that demonstration. While we're doing that, there's also other parts of the project that are underway as well. One already underway is seeking and similar IGA, similar agreement to bring forward the already funded raised planning grant, which was several $1 million contribution from the Department of Transportation for this project. It would help us design the overall project itself. We're also looking at bringing forward in the future an application for a raised construction grant. That's something that we're excited to compete for. It would be a national Department of Transportation competition. And I see those as all separate tracks where we're likely to have similar staff from the city, but different project teams that are going to be engaged in that work. And tonight, we're going to focus on bringing forward a small piece of the loop. In the near future, towards the end of the year, I think we'll be talking about the overall design of the project itself. And then hopefully in the end of the year, beginning of January, there's a deadline that we'd like to meet to try to compete for that raised construction grant as well. So I just wanted to kind of give that context and then hand it off to Jean Seneschal Biggs, who I think will do a great job. And we've got ODOT as well on the line describing the overall project for today, the demonstration project.
Great, thank you, Dan. Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Jean Seneschal Biggs, Transportation Planning Manager in the Community Development Department. And joining me is Sam Hunady, Project Services Manager with the Oregon Department of Transportation's Local Agency Program. We go to the next slide. So we've reached our next milestone with the Loop project, and this evening you're being asked to authorize a grant agreement with ODOT so we can begin work on a demonstration project along Hall Boulevard from Southwest 1st to Southwest 3rd for our first phase of construction of the Loop. Next slide. So I was here a little over a year ago in May 2023 when you took action to adopt the Beaverton Downtown Loop Complete Street Concept Plan. The Loop Plan proposes transportation investments along Hall Boulevard, Watson Avenue, and 5th Street to help build the community's vision of a vibrant downtown. Once complete, the loop will create a strong connection between Beaverton's Old Town and the Beaverton Central District with wider sidewalks, protected bike lanes, better lighting, new street trees and landscaping, and safer and easy crossings for everyone traveling downtown. Next slide. So you may recall at that time that I shared the project's cost estimate with you. The loop requires a significant financial investment for engineering and construction, and full build out is estimated to cost between 87 and 105 million, and that's based on 2022 pricing. We anticipate that the project could take 10 years or more to complete, and that's very typical of roadway projects of this scale to be built in phases over time. That can happen through either city-led or developer-led investments. Next slide. And we've already been successful in funding our path to implementation. Dan mentioned this already. With the support of Congresswoman Bonamici and Senators Merkley and Wyden, the loop was awarded federal appropriations in 2 consecutive years. So $4 million in 2023 and $1.6 million in 2024 for a total of $5.6 million in federal investments for the loop. These funds come with a required match of $1.185 million that will come from the Beaverton Urban Redevelopment Agency, or BURA. And you'll recall that the loop is an identified project in BURA's 5-year action plan. So with a total project budget of $6.8 million, we can expect to build these first blocks of the loop. And finally, we have a tight schedule. A requirement of our first award of $4 million means that we must have final plans ready to go to bid by September 30th, 2026, which is just a little over 2 years from now. Next slide. So this project is a partnership with the Oregon Department of Transportation. As a federally funded design and construction project, ODOT will deliver the project on behalf of the city. This means that ODOT will serve as the contracting agency for the project, for both a consultant team to lead design and community engagement activities, and for the construction contract to build the project. ODOT's team of project management, engineering, environmental, and construction staff will support our project through completion. So that is why the grant agreement you're being asked to take action on tonight is with ODOT. They are the agency that is authorized to receive the federal funds, even though the project is on a city street. But I can also assure you that city staff will continue to have a lead role in the project, providing oversight, design review, and community engagement. This grant agreement you're being asked to approve tonight is for that initial award of $4 million with matching funds totaling $1 million. And I'll return to council at a future date to request authorization to amend this agreement for those additional federal and local funds that we've been awarded. Next slide. So identifying the proposed project was done through a multi-step process. Step 1 was done by staff. It was a block-by-block review of the entire loop to look for project elements that would slow down the design process or the project approvals process. Considerations included cost, utility conflicts, and needed improvements beyond the scope of the project, additional traffic analysis needs to affirm the project scope, ODOT-owned facilities that require coordination and add complexity. The same for the railroad facilities that also require coordination and added complexity. And then finally, National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA impacts that trigger the need for higher levels of approvals. So the map that's shown here identifies the blocks that were ruled out by step 1, that's where you see red text, and the blocks that remained, they're highlighted in pink, those moved on to step 2. Step 2 of our process looked at these remaining blocks across multiple criteria. Categories included cost, safety and operations, enhancing and building upon existing uses, and city investments and design risks. And then finally, our third step was to gather input from the council. We met with you in one-on-ones and we heard your feedback. Next slide. And here's where we landed. So our proposed project is 2 blocks of the loop along Southwest Hall Boulevard from Southwest 1st Street to Southwest 3rd Street. Project elements include constructing new rapid flashing beacons at the intersections to improve safety for people crossing, constructing wider sidewalks with room for retail displays and outdoor seating, which will help create an active dynamic streetscape. constructing a cycle track, which is a sidewalk level protected bike lane to increase safety for cyclists. Specifically, this type of facility eliminates the risk of getting doored, which is when vehicle passengers open their car doors into the bike lane and strike cyclists. And finally, to minimize conflicts between cyclists and turning vehicles in the cycle track, we'll also be looking to close 2 existing driveways, 1 on each block, and consolidating access to those parking lots from side streets. In addition, building these new spaces means that we will remove on-street parking between 1st and 2nd, and on the east side between 2nd and 3rd. On the west side between 2nd and 3rd, what we now call a flex zone, that creates space for on-street parking like we have today, or other curbside uses like outdoor dining or bike parking corrals and truck loading zones. Next slide. So there are a number of project activities ahead of us. In addition to design and engineering, we need to coordinate with both city-owned and private utilities. Because the project is federally funded, we'll need to document any environmental impacts the project may have and secure clearances for them. We will also likely need to secure temporary easements from the owners of adjacent properties to accommodate sidewalk construction. And a key activity will be planning for construction to minimize and mitigate the impacts on businesses in and around the project area. Construction activities will be disruptive to the people who live, work, and shop in the project area. We know there are lots of questions about this work, and we'll work closely with the business community to prepare. Next slide. So once we have the grant agreement in place, work can begin to scope the project and issue a request for proposals, an RFP. And with that, we'll be able to select a consultant team to design the project and support engagement activities. Scoping is the task of defining the consultant services that we need to deliver the project. And along with that, we'll be developing a preliminary schedule and cost estimate for the design work. When we move into the consultant selection and RFP process, there are a few steps that include ODOT's procurement office and the Oregon Department of Justice. They are ODOT's attorneys. Once we've negotiated our consultant contract, then our design work can begin. The design process itself includes plan review at key milestones, 30% plans, 60%, 90%, all to get us to 100% plans and specifications and a final cost estimate. That's what we call PS&E. So I mentioned our federal obligation deadline earlier in the presentation. That means by September 30th, 2026, we need to have our bid package complete and all our clearances approved by that date, and ideally sooner. Leadership in Region 1 at ODOT is very aware of our project, and they can help us push through at each step of plan and technical review. So we're anticipating going out for construction bids in fall 2026 and starting construction in winter 2027. I've been asked by colleagues how long we can expect construction to take, and I don't have an answer for you today. That's something that we'll understand better once we have our consultant team on board and we've determined what's needed both underground and at the street level, so we can identify the sequence of construction activities and determine that time frame for construction duration. Okay, next slide. So before I wrap up, I just want to share a few quick updates for you on the RAISE grant. Dan mentioned this earlier. This is another federal grant awarded to the Loop. With these $2 million in federal funds and $500,000 in Bureau funds as our local match, we'll continue to make progress. Activities here include creating a master plan for the Loop, refining that plan along Watson and Hall between Milliken Way and First Street. We'll also be doing a study for replacing the Hall Boulevard Bridge over Beaverton Creek and doing preliminary design for the downtown Beaverton Railroad Quiet Zone. Next slide. So our grant agreement is now in the hands of the United States Department of Transportation. They're doing their final review, and I anticipate returning to you before the end of the year to approve that grant agreement. Selecting our consultant team will occur next spring, and the work is anticipated to take about 18 months to complete. So while we will be very busy working on the demonstration project and getting it ready to go out to bid, work on the RAISE grant will be happening at the same time. Okay, next slide. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. Your action this evening is to authorize an IGA between ODOT and the City of Beaverton And Sam and I are both happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll jump in first. Can we go back to the slide that has the timeline on it?
Maybe just one or two. That one. Oh, nope. Go forward. Sorry. Whoops. Keep going. Little more, little more. Little more. One more. Yes. That one?
Okay. Help me understand some things. We have been talking about this project for over 3 years, and I am really glad that you circled back on the RAISE planning grant, all the money that we've been negotiating to do the work, but this is not like we're starting from scratch. So why is it going to take us 8 months to scope a project, and why can't we do the work like the consultant selection simultaneously? We know what's happening here. The consultant isn't the design team. Why can't these things happen at the same time to move the timeline up?
So I'll start, and maybe Sam, you can chime in too. So this is a timeline that we have to work within with ODOT. So there is an element of writing our scope of work, preparing an RFP on the technical side of things for the consultant to be able to respond to. Here are the tasks. Here's our requirements. But there are a number of steps that also have to happen at the state, because they're the ones to issue this. And this is the timeline that they're working within in terms of getting projects out to bid. And Sam, I'd welcome you to chime in and say anything else.
Well, yeah, hi, I'm Sam Hanady. I'm the project services manager. We have been working with Jean on trying to create a schedule that works to be able to deliver the project on time without any potential delay. We have to, there's, as what Jane said, there have to be some steps taken before we can go through the RFP and to develop that process. Is going to take some time, knowing that, you know, our technical support is also will be involved and will provide some internal, you know, some reviews and concurrence before we can finalize the RFP. Hope that helps.
It doesn't. You didn't actually give me any additional information that's not on this slide. Why would it take 18 months for a consultant to put together a bid package? Why would it take 6 months for our staff to give you a scope for a consultant? Like, this seems like a very bloated timeline. Is this like worst case scenario? And like, we're competing, we're going to have bites at the apple for this federal RAISE construction grant. One, we have to go out for it this year. And we got this money 2 years ago, talking about our ability to do a demonstration. Money from the federal government doesn't come to cities like ours often. Our ability to deliver this project is going to have a significant impact on whether we qualify for a RAISE construction grant or not. And this timeline doesn't both a lot of faith in me to be able to go to DC and say that we can work together with our inner departments here to get something done. This is 3 years to do something that shouldn't take 3 years to do. So what are we as the city? We're just completely beholden to ODOT's schedule. And like, I'm trying to be kind in my remarks here, but 18 months for a consultant to put together a bid package when we're paying for it seems very too long to me.
Well, this is that has been discussed between us and the city, and we provided some feedback based on information and based on other similar projects that normally takes about that long to develop the RFP and to move forward with that. This may be a worst case scenario, but you know, it takes time to develop that through the negotiation between us and the consultants, and there's a time frame that normally takes going through that, including the Department of Justice review and the approval process and the procurement itself through the Office of Procurement. Based on what we know from other similar projects, it takes about that long to develop that. But it may be less as we continue working on the RFP itself when we start.
Sam, if you were the mayor of Beaverton that went out and got a $2 million raise planning grant and then got another $4 million from the federal government to say that we can demonstrate, we can do this work in Oregon. You don't have to keep giving money to other states. We can do it right here. And then I'm given a 3-year timeline. Who would you call in your department for me to talk to move this timeline faster?
Well, I mean, you can start with the region manager, Ryan.
Okay, let's do that after this conversation. I need you guys to come alongside Beaverton and move this project, or we are going to miss the window for race construction.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Did you call me? Sorry, I was breaking up. I just want to make sure I'm not.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I completely agree with the mayor. Like, this is way too long. Like, we've been talking about the loop for, gosh, 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, and plus all this money. But I won't belabor those points. But one thing that is on my mind, especially because this is our first swing at the construction bat, like, are there things we should be thinking about that will advance further phases of this project at the same time? Right? Like, are there things we can do? Because what I think is even worse than having 3 years for phase 1 demonstration project is another 3 years after that for phase 2, and then another 3 years after that. And I know like the whole timeline is maybe a decade, but like, are there things we should be thinking about, or work that we can accomplish, or things that we could be doing now to kind of speed up the overall project? The other thing that's on my mind too is, you know, I don't know that we've done projects like this in an urban area. Certainly probably not recently. I don't know that. I just hope we're paying really close attention to how to do this the proper way with access and business. So many times in Washington County, I've seen as a cyclist, as a pedestrian, it's very much an afterthought. They just close the bike lanes. They don't give a place for pedestrians to walk. And when I walk in downtown Portland, an urban area, you know, they require things like pedestrian access to be maintained and bikes and stuff like that. I just hope we're thinking about that in these areas, because what I would hate to see is us create a really great destination, which we've done in downtown Beaverton, and then for the duration of the construction, harm that. So that's kind of where my brain's at right now.
Okay, I'll start with that last one and work my way back. I don't want to speak for what we've done here before. This is really our first outing with constructing the loop, but we will be including traffic control. Part of the work that the consultants will do and prepare for us are traffic control plans, and that includes pedestrian access control. And it's our intent to work ahead on this project as we think ahead to construction, and really make sure we've got effective staging plans so that access is maintained. That's why I brought up the planning for construction piece. Part of that planning includes developing those traffic control plans, and that's an ODOT requirement. And ODOT's contractor will be delivering the project, but we will still have a city staff, very much a lead role all the way through the project with construction. So community members will have a city staff person as point of contact, and ODOT will have a point of contact, and that is a team that will work together to deliver the project and work on the project through construction.
On that though, like I do think about the canyon crossing that was just done with pedestrians, and that was an absolute failure in my mind. Like, it was 5 months, and I saw mothers pushing strollers down the middle of Watson because we did not do that well. And that's my fear with this, right? Like, in fact, Gene, I think you and I even crossed.
Yeah, we saw each other one day.
Yeah. So like, that's just my fear. If you're confident, then I think that I can trust that process. I'm really concerned about that.
Yeah, I hear you. And then the timelines and things we can do to speed up, and what are other things that we can be doing. So as I said, this is our earmark project. We have a project to get built. At the same time we're doing this work, there is going to be a different consultant team working on our RAISE grant and doing that master plan. So that will help us not only just design the work, but talk more with the community and all of you about the priorities for, what's the right sequence of project pieces to move forward, and bring that feedback from the community back to you all so that we can really fine tune that sort of, I will say, is the implementation plan, while still, I think my goal would be have priorities that also still let us be flexible as those funding opportunities come up. That might be, this might be a section of the project that's right for this sort of funding versus another one, right? That sort of thing. So we will be doing that. What I didn't mention in my slideshow is that we've also received and been awarded, I should say we've been awarded, there's no money in the bank, but it's coming. There's another $13 million towards Watson from Milliken to First that is coming through the county's MSTIP, the Major Streets Transportation Improvement Program. Those funds have not yet been programmed. The county hasn't made that step yet. At this point, the county board has approved a package of projects for the next MSTIP program. And I'm expecting that in this next year, they'll take steps to figure out which projects are ready in the queue, and figure out the sequencing of, which projects go first, and then in the second and third and on from there. So I think for us with the Loop, because we have that plan, I feel like we're really well positioned to say we should be one of the earlier projects to get initiated through the MSTIP program. So there's that piece. And then Dan mentioned earlier the RAISE construction grant. There are 2 more cycles left in the bipartisan infrastructure law. They're both coming up January 2025 and January 2026. We have, just much more info now from having that adopted plan to be able to pull together that grant application. So that's one where, again, we're going to be coming back to you all to present some options and decide, which section of the Loop do we feel is appropriate to move forward. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but hopefully that helps you kind of give a context of what's sort of on the horizon for us with all these different projects and funding and grants that are available. Does that help? Great.
Councilor Teeter.
Thanks, Gene. I agree with comments that the mayor and Councilor Duggar just shared. I want to build on something Councilor Duggar shared about the pedestrian accessible routes as well. I know ODOT's got the policy for temporary pedestrian accessible routes. I don't know if that extends to bicycle accessible routes during construction. And so if that's something a little extra that we need to do locally, that would make me feel a lot better about it. And then Gene, you also just mentioned the ODOT liaison that would be available for us. Do we know who that is already? Do we have that relationship already being built?
Yes, so that's Sam and his team that are supporting. They're part of ODOT's local agency program. I'll do my best, Sam, and then you can chime in on what I missed. ODOT has a local agency program. This is a team of staff who are sort of more oriented as project managers to help, I'll say, shepherd these locally awarded projects for agencies that we're not authorized to deliver federally funded transportation projects. So ODOT is really here in that partnership, and they do this with cities and counties all across the state. This team is housed at Region 1, which is our region here with the Tri-County area, plus a few others. So Sam leads that team, and Sam, you can chime in if there's more you want to add.
Yeah, there has been a project manager assigned to this project, and Katie Gillespie is working closely with Gene on a lot of the issues, and normally if there is any delay on any things, they bring it to my attention, and we'll work to try to unresolve that.
Okay, thank you. And is that a different team than the 217 liaison group?
Yeah, that's completely different. That the 217, that's an internal process, internal team that works on delivering state projects versus local agency projects.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. I know I've heard from several people here locally, we've had a hard time getting communication from ODOT about our 217 overpasses with Denny and Allen. So Sam, having you and your team here for our downtown streets could be very helpful, and that makes me feel a lot better. I had a couple other questions. One was, in our staff briefing, one of the options we talked about was haul from first to second, but this includes second to third as well. Am I misremembering that? Because I saw the estimate for the cost was 7.6 for that one block. Did we add another block, or is it a similar cost, or am I just wrong?
You cut out for a little bit, I think, or I froze, I think is what happened, but I think I get the gist of your question. So yes, you saw a one block option. I don't remember what that cost was. I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, so we've extended it to 2 blocks. So first to third. So we're getting a little more out of it. And then we've continued, with Public Works, continue to revise those estimates. So at this point, we're looking at a project cost of somewhere between 10 and 12 million. So another step will be for us as the city to identify what's the source of additional funds. It could be Bureau funds. There may be other sources for us to look into. So that as we move forward, you'll hear more of an update on that project cost overall. And then how do we plan on putting additional dollars towards it?
Okay. I think that's one of the parts that just gives me some concern. Not enough. I will vote to approve this, but it gives me some concern just as we're planning for funding this piece of it. Because I think the Bureau match, and we're not Bureau right here, but the Bureau match was a little over 1 million. So I would assume that this would have to go before Bureau, potentially to ask for more, or go out and get a different match. Am I right in that thinking?
I'm not our finance director, but it could be that it's something that we do through the budget process next year. In terms of the funding we have in this year's budget, what we need now is there. Okay. Right. The bigger of the cost is going to come with the construction phase, and there's more approval steps in the process for us when we get there. But we've got time to plan the budget piece of this. We've got a couple years. So. Okay. Thanks. But yes, I think you're right. There's a Bureau piece to inform. And there's the budget piece. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important information for Councilor Teeter too, because he wasn't on the council when we submitted this grant the first time. We have to use matching funds, and we chose to use matching funds from Bureau before we even applied for the grant. And so our ability to get federal money comes with the stipulation that we put skin in the game. So that's why this money's already been allocated in Bureau. There's over $10 million in the Bureau budget set aside for the loop specifically because we had to do that. So whether we spend it now or we spend it later, we have to put that money in to make the federal money go. It's just a requirement. INSTEP has similar matching requirements for us. And the reason why staff is pushing for a 2-block demonstration is just that. Like, we have to be able to demonstrate that we can do a construction project of this size. And one block doesn't necessarily get us there. 2 blocks gives us the ability to showcase our strength here. We're competing against everyone in the entire country for this grant. This isn't like we're competing in Washington County. A raised construction grant puts us in the capacity of competing with everyone in the nation. And so we need to lead with our best foot forward and think about, having one block, and you're seeing here, it's a 3-year timeline apparently to get it even started under construction. If we do one block and then it takes a similar amount of time to keep going, what is the neighborhood going to think of us doing one block? And so I think there's a community piece to this and a financial responsibility piece. And it's cheaper for us to do, in the long run, to do 2 blocks now than one block and then do another block and then do another block. Councilor Tivenon?
Thank you. Okay, so on that note about time being of the essence, there's a lot of different tumblers that need to fall into place over a specific period of time. And as Jean, you mentioned earlier, you were back before us, what, a year ago? So it's been a while. And so we're revisiting this in a big way, as is the community, as is the business community that's in that particular area, and the residents and the users of the library and the visitors of the farmers market and all of the other programs, events that happen at the park, families on the weekends, and on and on and on. I'm going to be the skunk at the picnic here and say we're losing a lot of parking. And this is going to be the first time when we do this project that the community, both in that particular area as well as all of the people that are coming in to take advantage of all the great amenities that are in it, are going to see that and experience it firsthand. And I get that we're doing this in order to build out the other transportation options, bike, ed, and make it safer and try and encourage people to access those areas on foot or rolling in on something that is not a car. We're still going to get a lot of them. And I am extremely concerned about where they go, both during the construction and after the construction. I think that it was the right choice to choose Hall to do this so that we can see how this plays out. How does it affect driver behavior? That's something I'm very concerned about. I just had a coffee at Ava's not that long ago, which is a couple of blocks from the farmers market. I scheduled it on a Saturday, didn't even think about it. My colleague that was coming in for the meeting was coming in from Portland, came in by car. I was coming from another meeting. I had to come by car. And just watching the behaviors of people, the longer they have to circle, the less cautious they get, the more anxious they are, the more time constrained they are, they start making really dumb decisions like doing 3-point turns in the middle of a block. Or cutting people off, or creeping out into crosswalks and things like that. And I can see there just being a lot of friction buildup if we don't account for the lost parking. And I don't know what that looks like. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't want that to get lost in the weeds until we've got a room full of public comment in our ear every time we meet about this, and even when we're not. So I can foresee that happening. So on that note, the other part of it is because of all the disruptions that we would experience with the construction around this, having a very well thought out wayfinding strategy, and also just information for people that are traveling through that area, regardless of the mode, so that they know what's going on. I think we've probably got a lot of construction fatigue developing within our city. It seems like right when something ends, something else is starting. There's going to be a whole lot of that in this area, especially with the community center demo and the building out the affordable housing project for our seniors on 5th. And it just getting really intentional about that, and maybe even starting to lay the groundwork for, if you can't park here, here's some options on where you can. Because I could see with that new parking structure that's going in on Broadway, I can see them like going into that area, great. But they could also go into the neighborhoods and deeper into the neighborhoods and into areas where it could have a negative impact on the people that live in that area, as well as not to mention the businesses that are going to be losing that on-street parking right from their establishment, and we know we're going to be hearing from them. So I know that this is something that is been talked about before. I didn't want to lose sight of it. It's given me a ton of heartburn, and I don't think it's going to go away just because the project is great and we're excited about what it's going to do for so many different goals that we have. So said my piece. Thank you very much.
Councillor Hartmeyer-Pregg.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think my biggest concern, but also excitement, because I can see the vision and I'm so excited for us to, I'm really glad for the expansion to the 2-block project because I think it's more impactful. I think it helps us really show the area, the vision of where we're going, and also, you know, can help us secure more funding to continue the work. But my biggest concern is our businesses. And so part of my request, or maybe just something for us to think about in this plan of once construction starts, is that for part of who's ever the outreach member on our city staff to be out there on the daily, checking in on these businesses, you know, walking it. It is not far from City Hall, so hopefully it's really easy to pop over, see how things are going, checking in on our businesses, getting a feel for how things are going. You know, we as a council made a really intentional choice to eliminate our parking minimums, and we knew that that would have, you know, an effect in lots of ways. And so what I'm also excited about to see here, and trust our staff will do, is how do we adjust in the moment? You know, if we're really seeing these issues with people misbehaving in the area, are there things that we need to do to kind of adjust in the moment to make sure that people, no matter how they're getting around, are safe, making sure that there's good visibility at intersections when things are closed or when driveways are closed, you know, just checking in truly on a daily basis. I think that that would go a long way to make sure that we have a pulse of what's happening and giving us that chance to adjust before something becomes like a larger issue, right? Like, and we can learn so much from this demonstration project beyond just like the built environment that we're creating, but how we can prove to our community that we're doing this also like for them, right? It's not just being done to them, but this is for them. So I think that that's just my biggest kind of thought, right, around this. But I'm also so excited to see it come to life. I think that the benefits of this project are going to outweigh the lost parking. We've talked so much about how, you know, just like a road sign is not the thing that's going to deter a driver from a certain type of behavior. That the way that we change our built environment is really what's going to influence it. And I think that when you're now, you know, coming, well, okay, so we're going to be going that way, not this way on Hall, but, you know, we know that those intersections across Farmington and TV Highway can be really risky. And to me, a huge draw of doing this loop project is you create a much more safe environment for everyone in the area. And this demo project is going to be a critical piece of that. So I am definitely going to be in support of this. That's my thoughts. There's been such good feedback from my fellow counselors on it too, and concerns. And I just want us to make sure we're taking a really proactive approach on the ground to adjust as needed, and just make this the most smooth demonstration project that we can.
Councillor Hussin.
Yes, saving the best for last. Hello, Sam. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I actually don't have any comments well, I don't have any questions. I'm just gonna back off on, support a couple comments that were made. And you've heard this, but I'm saying this more for the public record. I think this project in the short term feels like a thorn. And in the long term will be like this beautiful project that we'll look at, you know, in 10 or, you know, hopefully not 10, maybe like 4 to 5 years and be really proud of in terms of the investments that we took to work on some of these areas. My biggest ask, and again, I've said this before, is the communication with the businesses. So to make sure that we're supporting them around parking. I also do think wayfinding is going to be super critical. I just really want us to help not just the businesses, but the community members know how to navigate. I am assuming, and I hopefully, you know, I hope rightfully so, 217 will be done. Like I just that traffic pattern, like I'm looking to you guys to, you know, put that big picture on and say, you know, we know that we are creating enough ways for people to get in their places. you know that I do that commute when school starts every day. And so ensuring that folks can get to where they want to go in the most effective way possible, and signage. So just constituent and community understanding around getting around while these things are happening. And then support for businesses in a way that allows them to either direct folks to where to go. I think we're going to have to start getting really excited about parking somewhere and walking to that area. I had the opportunity this last week to take TriMet several times to downtown Beaverton and absolutely loved it. And I think if we can continue to support those kinds of behaviors, we will start to see what we know downtown Beaverton could be. Last piece, I'm hoping that Bura can kind of step up around some of the wayfinding. I don't know what the exact discussions have been around, I know what the discussions have been around 5-year strategy, but just really thinking again back to that wayfinding and some of that community identity work. I think we have some opportunity to help folks know where parking is, drive more safely and carefully, and just really thinking about just keeping a Councilor Tivnan and what I have seen also in that area when people are rushed, how do we encourage positive driving behavior in that area? So I'll just leave it to you as the experts to kind of keep thinking about that. Thank you. I know that this has been a labor of love.
I think, Mayor, I don't know if you're frozen or not, but I was hoping that I could make a motion.
Yep, I was frozen, but I'll take a motion now.
Okay, great. I move that the council authorize the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the Oregon Department of Transportation and the city of Beaverton for the Beaverton Downtown Loop.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Any more discussion on tonight's motion? The only comment I'll make is I did froze at the end of Councilor Assam's comments, but I agree with Bura and the wayfinding, and there is money in the budget to do it, and we talked about it as a priority. I think there's also opportunities for us to look towards Bloomberg and other organizations to help us fund it, so it could also be maybe an art project and something outside the box. So let's continue that conversation as well. With that, will the recorder call the roll?
Councilor Duggar?
Yes.
Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg?
Yes.
Councilor Hassan?
Yes.
Councilor Teeter?
Yes.
Councilor Tivnan?
Yes.
Mayor Beatty?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Awesome. Thank you. We are on to our 24095, a work session regarding increasing the procurement threshold for the Beaverton Purchasing Code. I'm not sure, is that you, City Manager?
No, Mayor,
No,
it
that
is our purchasing manager, Michael Phillips.
Oh, all right, Michael, welcome to the big stage. Please introduce yourself and get going.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Michael Phillips, the purchasing manager for the city. I oversee the procurement and contracting arm of the finance division. Can we go to the next slide, please? And I'm approaching you tonight to describe the proposed changes to the city's purchasing code that you received for your review. The purchasing code is generally updated in response to legislative changes. It can also be done for process and efficiency purposes, and this request entails a bit of both. The next slide, please. The proposed purchasing code changes were done with a great deal of thought, and it was a team effort between the purchasing and legal departments. A key item in this update is the proposed procurement threshold changes based on Senate Bill 1047 to raise small procurement threshold for goods and services from $10,000 to $25,000, and the intermediate procurement threshold from $100,000 to $250,000. On the slide there, it's $150,000 to $250,000, and that's because the state of Oregon already had their intermediate procurement threshold set at $150,000 prior to this. Next slide, please. Okay. With the formalization of the ITS director position at the city, we now have confidence that software is being vetted against the city's cybersecurity policy and other proper controls, like the newly created BITS committee, which stands for Beaverton IT Steering Committee. This confidence has allowed us to create a direct appointment process for software procurement to increase efficiency. Next slide, please. One of the goals in updating the purchasing code was to make changes and edits that reflect the current state of the modern e-procurement landscape. This included eliminating references to faxes, physical mail, and other changes that make the procurement process easier for our vendors to work through. Next slide, please. Currently, the formal procurement threshold of the city comes into effect for any procurement that is greater than or equal to $100,000. This is the level at which contracts must be approved and reviewed by the Contract Review Board. There are several reasons why the city would want to increase this threshold. Projects are often delayed when there's a mismatch between project schedules and council meeting dates. The legislative break that occurred before this August 20th meeting highlighted that issue. Inflation increases mean that projects that could have been intermediate procurements are now formal procurements, which increases the time needed to complete the process. Neighboring jurisdictions and cities have higher thresholds based on that state legislative changes that were shown earlier, which allow them to contract with preferred vendors faster. Some of these jurisdictions include Washington County, Hillsborough, and Portland. The next slide, please. Based on those prior discussed issues, I'm recommending that council approve an increase in the formal procurement threshold to greater than or equal to $250,000. I believe this will have significant impacts on efficiency and expediency of project execution. Less time will be spent by staff to compile agenda bills and route them for signature and approval. Less time and money will be spent for the purchasing division and subject matter experts in running formal procurements. This change would continue a streak of process improvements and allow the city to be more flexible and adaptable in the future. Next slide, please. So the central question tonight is City Council, acting as the Contract Review Board, okay with authorizing an increase to the formal procurement threshold from $100,000 to $250,000? And the next slide, please. And thank you for listening, and I'll take any questions.
All right, Michael, was this your first presentation to City Council?
This has been my first presentation to City Council.
You had a great first presentation, Michael. It had all the information we
much.
needed, and I know coming before us is daunting. I wanted to say you weren't presenting on maybe a night I wasn't here. Good job for that. I know staff, coming before the council, we often think about ourselves as just everyday people, but I know it has a formality piece to it. So great job. I love procurement. I'm a procurement nerd. I helped run a state bill last year around veteran procurement. So I really appreciate this update, what you're doing. And sometimes as the mayor, and for the second time this evening, sorry, colleagues, I'm going to do a history lesson for us. The reason the procurement limit was set so low was the previous mayor. And the city council's ability to be able to be informed in decision-making, we had to drop the procurement level down very significantly so that anytime he wanted to spend money, he had to come before the city council because he made bad purchasing decisions that we were not happy with. So as part of our change to government and along with a little nudge from the state government, lifting the procurement code threshold is a way for us to signal to the city manager that she is operating on behalf of the city council's best interest. So I plan tonight to support lifting the threshold to that to give the city manager the ability to do business. My only request is when we're looking at lower procurement, less than 25,000, I realize we don't have to use COVID firms. I would like us to consider what a process might look like for local companies to become preferred vendors, because minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses, like a less than $25,000 contract is a big deal. And it's about seeding money in our community. People with long-standing history in government can compete for $250,000 contracts. Small mom and pop places can. And so I don't want to lose sight of what makes Beaverton great, that we are investing in local businesses, we're investing in minority-owned businesses, women-owned, small and veteran-owned businesses that need that leg up in those small early contracts. So I'd like us to consider a way to be able to have a preferred vendor list that meets the city's council goals around that. Everything else in here, technical stuff, I'm happy to support. Councilor Hartmeyer, wait, I'm sorry, who's first? Councilor Hassan?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Michael, for this.
Sorry,
Oh,
lost in the notes here. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay. Like, I don't know if I'm cutting out or
we can
start cutting out. Okay. Just 1 minute. I just need 2 minutes. Okay, thank you. My one comment, this is great, and I can support the threshold request. I would like to see language similar to what Mayor Beatty is suggesting. I think that that language can potentially live here. I will let you be the decider or let other councilors weigh in. But I'd like to see language about, you know, where our values are as a council, and procurement is a way that we show our values in terms of who we select and how we select. And so whether it's language focused around, you know, minority owned, working with minority owned businesses or small local business or any of that sort of thing, I really just like to see some kind of language updated in this round. And because there's so much going on in this room, I'm going to just let the next people go. Thank you.
Councilor Hart.
Thank you. Yes, I just will second Mayor Beatty and Councilor Hassan's comments, and I'm just trying to double check if this is a policy or code, right? I know that sometimes changing code can administrative rules. Okay, so just want to make sure, like, whatever we do, that I would love for us to make sure that to Councilor Hassan's point, like, our council's values, our city's values are also reflected. And so even though I'm totally comfortable raising these threshold amounts as well, wanting to make sure that we are still living our values with the way that our city spends money. I think I did have one question, but I've lost it because that point was just so good. So I'm going to let it be there.
Well, if he comes back around, I'll let you go twice tonight. Councilor Duggar.
Thanks. I want to, I think I support this. I want to outline formal council priorities, and I think that's what I've kind of getting from the mayor and the other councilors that have spoken. As discussed, we had talked about this a little earlier when we were perhaps discussing the janitorial contract. That was one of our goals, is like inserting council priorities in this. I don't know if it's scoring or whatever needs to be, and we have a model for that, right? We've put the model in place with our capital improvement projects. So I think we have at least an initial model. The biggest benefit here, I think, is efficiency, right? It makes a lot of sense. I'm a procurement guy myself. That's what I do in my day job. But there could be some drawbacks that I want us to think about, and those could be political or policy. I'm still willing to support this. I would just ask the city manager's office to maybe kind of use your sixth sense here. And if you determine, you know, when there's a contract maybe under the threshold, that perhaps should come before the council based on what's happening in the community, or if there's a political interest for us to do that, maybe consider bringing those, like not automatically not bring it to us, like use that sixth sense. I'd also maybe ask, at least for this first year, if we could just at the end of the year have a report generated of all those contracts and you know what happened with them. I wouldn't want a big report like a 5 lines on a spreadsheet kind of thing. I don't think there's going to be many of these, but I'd be curious to see the impact. So if we're able to weigh in on our priorities, kind of leave some wiggle room for the city manager to determine when things need to come before the council, and if there's just kind of a little check for us to understand the scale and scope at the end of the year, I think I could support this.
I think we asked the city manager for something similarly when we let go of some controls last time. So if the city manager is okay with that, I think that's a good recommendation for us to see. And it's in her best interest that we don't whiplash and lower it. And so I think she'll use her political prowess to know when it might upset us, or at least give us the briefing that it's coming.
Yeah, we typically provide you
Councilor Teeter?
reports on easements.
Yeah, thank you.
On easement, so if we could do something similar this year on contracts over 100,000, since you already had the authorization below that, it should be probably a not very intensive list. Councilor.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And yeah, I want to echo what the mayor said. Great job. Love presentations that are clear and factual and detailed. So really appreciate that. I am in full support of this. A lot of the contracts that come before us for review and approval are not very sensitive in any ways and are in line with what we've approved in our budget and our planning for and our work plans. And so I would like us to be able to be more efficient as a city. And if this is a step to do that, I'm in full support of that. I really do appreciate some of the comments that have come before this, especially the mayor kicking it off with a preferred vendor list that can support a lot of our local entrepreneurs and diverse business base. I think one of the things that I would not want to see that turn into is something like the state Oregon Forward program that was so strict that it prevented us from having flexibility with approving the types of vendors or services we might want to go forward with. So just having a set of priorities or goals we want to see achieved and just building in that flexibility is great. But I think this is a great step. But I just want to clarify, we are not taking action tonight on this. Is this coming back in consent agenda for approval, or Jenny or Michael, can you all just move forward with what seems to be consent?
I believe this is going on consent agenda, but.
Okay.
Jenny.
Okay.
You'll have an actual resolution with the text changes that'll be approved, and it should be adopted formally. That would be the best practice.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, I'm in full support of this. This is great work. Let's keep it going.
Councilor Tibnon.
Yeah, a lot of great comments tonight, so I won't belabor that by saying ditto, but I agree with everything that was said so far. And also just a recognition that money ain't what it used to be. So the dollar just doesn't go as far as it used to. So I'm really curious if we were to do a comparison of value, how much more we're actually, is this kind of just right-sizing things in some ways. I highly value the procurement process. One, because what I do for a living is respond to RFPs and RFQs, have for 16 years now, and have seen the state and local municipalities grappling with how do you truly increase opportunity amongst emerging small businesses, minority-owned businesses, women-owned, veteran-owned, and just make room for innovation and new thoughts, new ideas, and all of that. So I love the idea of a preferred vendors list to simplify things, but also to identify, especially in the local markets, folks that we can just go to and get things done efficiently and fast and get them underway. But I'd also welcome an opportunity to every so often look at our numbers, every 2 or 4 years or 5, or I don't know what the cadence is, but say, what are the breakdowns of work that's being contracted out that is going through this mechanism instead of the competitive bid? And that's the only additional thought that I have on this, but no issues raising the threshold.
Councilor Song, come back in.
Sorry, and thank you. Actually, a kid put slime in the kid's hair, and that's what's happening when I turn off my camera really quick. Is it possible to put in language around our values in this place, or is that not the place for that?
This is a code change. Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say, currently in the code, we do speak and have preference for COVID certified firms, which we do have there, and we could maybe modify that section a bit to do what we're looking to do. It wouldn't be any of the sections we've highlighted here, but it could be something to add in that.
Okay, and this is my opinion, and others can thumbs up, or like kind of in the opening, right? Like we're committed to working with, right? And like just thinking of our values. I feel like Jenny and leadership knows our values, and I want to imagine that if somebody else who is not here today is reading this, they feel like they know our values without having to come back to this meeting and just to see something in writing that represents. Thank you.
I agree, but I disagree about it only being in the preamble. We need to see, we'll let Jenny kind of do some scoping of what that is, because I think, you know, staff are going to look to this document to do work, and so we need to make sure that it's clear in the right place. And I do think, you know, I've long wanted us to do a preferred list, particularly around catering and food. We often end up catering from national chains when we are literally using city money to invest in restaurant row and local businesses. So it is something I'd like us to move forward on. I mean, I think a local vendor, at least starting with restaurants, might be a good first step to do that. Awesome. Thank you for joining the City Council tonight. I know it's rare that you have city councilors so deeply involved in procurement, but this is actually an area that a lot of our councilors work in and feel very connected to, and money speaks values. And we have to make sure that when we are doing things like purchase on behalf of the city, that we are doing the best, most good with it. It is our responsibility. Okay.
Thank you.
Manager, is there anything else from you?
No, I believe we are close to being done.
We are done. So look at that. I hope you enjoyed your break. We are coming back with vengeance. We have a lot to do in the next months, us on a date for our retreat. So thank you for your timely responses so we could get that on board. And I look forward to one in 2 weeks. Actually, I lie. I look forward to seeing everyone next week. See you next week.